Hello everyone, this is me here, I'm Adam Leonard, your Psychic Astrologer, and as you can see behind me, this is an astrological chart. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a session where I'm going to be explaining to you the aspects, or major aspects, for March ahead. Okay, now the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on for the first point of March is this aspect here. Okay, now this is Pisces. For those of you at home, you may know that if you're born in March, at least the beginning of March up until 19th, you're going to be a Pisces. And here this is Sun in Pisces. Now one really important aspect here is that the fact that Neptune and the Sun are what's called conjunct. They're working together with each other, making an alliance to some degree. Now Neptune, as you may know, is the god of the seas, Poseidon essentially associated to that. And deals with everything to deal with the higher vibrations, spirituality, creativity, and it deals with the principle that all of us on a deep level are linked on a soul level. Okay, there are no boundaries between us. It deals with that moment when you deal with, let's just say, a high-class businessman that's got a load of status that gets humbled and realises that he's exactly the same as the person living on the street. That realization that we're all human, we're all living our own journey, we've all got our own burdens, we've all got our own things we've got to work through. It deals with compassion, imagination, creativity, and essentially that emotional feeling of love and compassion that bonds us all together. Now you get this combined with the Sun itself, which is all about a sense of self-expression, our confidence, what we're aspiring to be, the light that we wish to shine out to the world, our message, so to speak. These combined together mean that right now it's an exceptionally good time to be sitting there thinking about how we want to connect to others that we may feel disconnected to enhance our spirituality, to want to meditate, to clean ourselves of past woes, and to channel things, channel information. Essentially, the subconscious that's connected to the consciousness of everyone, Neptune is the link to. Okay, so if you're sitting there thinking, well, I want to write, I want to create something, I want to jump into a spiritual class, I want to start healing, I want to meditate, I want to escape, this is the time to be doing it. Extremely good time for anything spiritual. However, on another note, it's not so good if you're wanting to just knuckle down and stick to structures. Neptune doesn't like structures. Imagine the ocean. There are no real structures within the ocean. It just flows from one area to another. There's no specific line between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, other than the one that we draw, but there are no lines. So be aware, if you are someone that is very spiritually inclined, that you may float off into different dimensions and want to just float around, and you may need to ground yourself to actually achieve an awful lot of things practically. Now, we've talked about Sun, Pisces, conjunct Neptune. And if you've been watching what I mentioned before, to do with what that means, very spiritual, float off into different dimensions, into your own world of imagination. What we have here is now this moon here. Now the moon rules our emotionally reflective stage. Now, essentially, we have the Sun, which is our sense of being that we beam out to others, okay? And when we're needing to digest, rest, recuperate, reflect on things, figure out who and what we are and what we need, we then go into our moon, okay? That's when we close the doors to wanting to be something to everyone else, and then we go into our own home and our sense of safety. Now, when we have moon in Virgo, this is the acknowledgement that we need certain structures and routines, and at the same time, we need to refine them and clean them. And it deals with the earthliness of our emotional needs. Okay? Now you've got all this very aspirational, spiritual, let's heal the world, let's combine people together, let's erase boundaries, erase the religious beliefs that separate us, or any kind of thing that separates us from feeling connected to our kin. But then you have here, which is the practicality of things. It brings it down to, well, how exactly do you apply that? We need a structure to things, and we need to, you've got this wishy-washy idea, but you need to fix this about this and fix this about this, etc. It brings this need to have an earthliness to things. Like with all aspect here where you're dealing with an opposition. This full moon in Virgo is very much about needing to bring in a sense of structure, needing to clean things up in ourselves. And what we may find is that those that have been practicing meditation, practicing things, that we'll find that if we're feeling a bit ungrounded, a bit wispy, and unable to focus, and our feelings all over the place, this full moon will highlight what is about your daily routine, whether it's to do with how you sleep, what you eat, how you treat your body, whether you need to do gym, whether you need to structure yourself in a way that actually stops you from floating off into the ether, which is what can happen with this aspect, especially if you like to meditate an awful lot, or to do an awful lot of things that are given to others. If you're an empath, this would be a really good time to be highlighting. Now this highlighting exactly when and how you're needing to ground yourself. Okay, so listen to your feelings, listen to things that agitate you, because this will be a really big highlight for what you're needing to do to balance yourself out. Right, so also what's going on the 9th of March is this little planet here, Mercury. Now we've all heard of Mercury retrograde, and you might just be able to see that there's an R next to that, which means retrograde. Now, later on the 9th, when I did this chart here, this is set sort of around 4 p.m, but later on in the day, this is going to go direct. Okay, and what that means is that in the sky it appears that Mercury, the planet, is moving backwards. Now it's technically not. It just simply means that the orbit of the Earth, from our perspective, looks like that we're moving faster than Mercury, so therefore in the sky that's an optical illusion, it believes that it's going backwards. Essentially that isn't the case. But what that does in terms of a principle and how it affects us is that Mercury is used to communicating with the outside world and connecting information together with what we know, and then communicating something someone else says with what we know, and then communicate it to someone else or to something else. Okay. Now when it goes retrograde, it's all about going into ourselves, reflecting on things we've learned in the past, and assessing our memory of things, essentially introspectively going, well, did I remember that correctly? Did I really assess my inner world and portray it correctly? Maybe I didn't express that correctly. And this is where you get things that don't tend to work very much, because people are very much inside themselves, and they forget things. And this is where you get that whole gremlin in the mix. Technical things fail, but it's not necessarily that technical things fail. It's more the humans behind it forget to do certain things, forget to do the checks, etc. That's really the deeper aspect of it. Now, there are some astrologers that will believe that it does affect communication on all fronts, and it could do. I'm more of a spiritual, psychological astrologer, so that's the line that I tend to go down. But this is going direct. Now, it's in Aquarius at the moment, which is quite a refreshing sign for Mercury. It's an air sign, and so it's very much about original thoughts. It's about wanting to get our new ideas out. We might want to be free, want to free ourselves from thinking in quite a fixed way. We want to combine with others that have like-mindedness. We're going to have lots of new ideas and all these kind of things, but at the moment, it's internalized. We've got to figure out what that is. Now, when that goes direct, we may have and this is on the 9th, remember, we'll have a bit of a feeling of, right, I've actually figured out what the new me that I want to be, what it is that I want to be learning. Again, since Mercury is all about the information gatherer. And this is going to be progressing through Aquarius. Eventually it's going to go into Pisces, and I'll cover that now, okay? Because whilst we're on here, by the time we get to the 16th, this is when Mercury moves into Pisces, okay? So it's in Aquarius now, and it moves into Pisces on the 16th, okay? At that time, you'll have Mercury in the sign of air. It's great. It's able to detach itself and to think logically and think of really good ideas. When you get into Pisces, it's overwhelmed by an awful lot of imaginative feelings, and sometimes you may find that you want to implement a new idea, but you'll float off into a different feeling. You may get a low, or you get this huge high, and you may find yourself, it's difficult to focus sometimes, drawn into other people's ideas rather than your own unique expression. And let's think, most of these ideas are coming from Aquarius, which is coming from a unique, original perspective of our individuality. So be aware that as we go through from the 16th of March onwards, that you need to make sure that you're sticking to your own previously thought ideas and not floating too much off, and really try to practice discipline as much as you can. It's great for meditation again, like we mentioned earlier, to do with the Sun Neptune, but you may need to just rein those thoughts in and stop them going off into a tangent and thinking of like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do the other. You may need to sort of like rein that in. One main feature of March, and it has been, to be honest, for quite a few months anyway, but it's becoming compounded by another planet that's joining the fray, is all of this energy in Capricorn, right? Now, we have had for quite some time Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn and Jupiter in Capricorn, but we've had recently joining the fray Mars. Now, all these symbols are what's called conjunct each other, okay? That means they're working with each other, and so their energies are all firing that same direction. Now, Capricorn energy is very much about hierarchy. It's to do with status, essentially, and it's to do with imagine the businessman in a suit that wants to pioneer his own business and wants to get to that next level, and then you've got the people underneath them that work for them, and underneath them, etc. So it's very much about that structure, and it deals with the principle of hard work. Essentially, that sort of stiff upper lip. If you've got an emotion that stops you from being productive, push that aside and crack on with work. Okay, so it deals with discipline at the same time. Okay, now what we have with these planets working with each other is you've got Saturn is essentially all about testing our structures. How do they work? Do they work for us? Okay, so let's just say that we have a structure. We get up, we go to the gym, we organise ourselves, we then talk to some friends, we do, trying to figure out whether these are productive, do they work? And what you may find here is that pressure in life is going to be put on us to see whether the structures that we've got can work under pressure, and whether that, essentially, if you're building a building, you're building the infrastructure, and then you start piling on the layers of the building, is that infrastructure going to work? Is it stable enough to support extra structures and support growth and progress? What you'll find is that Saturn at the moment, and this will be affecting quite a lot of people, especially those that are Libra. You see these squares? Squares are the red lines here. Late Libras and late Aries, and all those that are born, again, late Cancerian, so that's towards the end of the month. These are being aspected by this, and what that means is they're being stressed by this energy more so than anyone else. And what this will mean is that you'll find that you'll have pressure at work, this feeling that you need to be more than you are, okay? Especially for the Aries and the Libra, you're going to be finding that you're going to get this energy that you can't quite release, that I need to be more than I am, I need to be more productive. You may find that you've got a boss that's saying you need to be this, you need to be that, and there's all this work pressure coming on at you, and you're going to have these identity crises. Who am I? What am I? I need to be more than I am. Okay, this compounding with Pluto, which is about you essentially working hard to try to get closer to your soul's transformative power, for you to get deeper into obsession. That's what Pluto is all about, is obsession. What is it that you can get so obsessed about that you can make a difference in the world? That's what Pluto is all about. Okay, if you look at someone like Einstein, for example, who just absolutely obsessed about science and just would not stop, even if it meant that he was seen as a bit of a weird guy, which is lots of accounts in terms of he's a bit eccentric. He didn't really care about that. He was just on it. Pluto is urging us towards that at the same time. You've then got Jupiter, that is wanting us to expand our horizons, connect to other like-minded people at the same time, wanting to learn and grow, and add more expertise to our skill set. Now, Mars, entering the fray with all of this, is going to be urging us with a lot of energy now to try and to get an awful lot of stuff done. It's going to challenge ourselves to push. And so we may find that if there's just been this niggling feeling in the background, Mars coming along and joining this fray is suddenly going to make us feel like that there's either others that are starting to compete for that job that you've been wanting, and then suddenly you're going to be like, I need to really push. Or you'll find that someone steps in that starts going, hey, come on, you've been wanting to do that fitness routine. You know, come on, let's get going. Let's push. So you can have this energy of others, usually youthful energy with Mars, that feel like they want to push you to make this happen. And so it's a really good time if you've been sitting there thinking, you've got all this imaginative stuff going on, you want to make a new business for yourself, or you want to go for that ideal job, and you want to push. Now's the time to be riding that energy of Mars. So This is going to continue on for a fair while, so really push yourself out there when it comes to kind of work and business enterprises, okay? So now's the time to fight for it. All right, so the next big shift in March is this move from, as you may have noticed, that the sun here has moved from its alliance with Neptune, which is that spiritual kind of Neptunian God energy of like wanting us to raise our vibrations above the ego and above the animal side up to spiritual, compassionate, imaginative realms. It's moved into Aries. And if you can imagine this as a wheel to some degree of the evolution of the human spirit, I'll just explain this just for a little bit. Aries is the new beginning. Okay, it's the young child that's just been born. It's passionate, it's excited, it's enthusiastic. Imagine a young child that's going to Disneyland or something like that. It's, wow, you know, it's going out there and it's passionate. And what you find here is that you go out there, you're passionate about things, then you get some things. In Taurus, you grab some nice new things, and then you learn some new things, and then you go to school, and you get a family, and then you figure out what you're good at, and you start expressing that to the world. And then you figure out that you need a routine. There are people that need to be fixed and healed, and you need to go to work, and you need to start earning your money and all those kind of things. And then you get into a relationship, and then you get into work partnerships. And then here you realise that you need power, you need money, you need influence to make the changes in life that is important. Here then you realise you want to travel, you want to learn new cultures, you want to learn new things. Here you go around to Capricorn, you're sitting there thinking like you need to have a business. You need to be someone here that leads a field. You need to have a structure behind you. You need to have some authority and status in the world. There you feel like you need to be combined with people that are like-minded and to make social changes, etc. And then we go into Pisces, which is where we've been, where you want to transcend all of that ego, and it's almost like that you're coming to realise that you're going to pass into the next dimension of existence, and then you're releasing ego, and you want to combine people together, separate of station and status and spirituality, and then you can imagine this is like, and then in a kind of, in one way, it's almost like you're preparing yourself to pass to the next level, the next dimension, you go into spirit world as such, and then you're reborn again into Aries again. So that's how the cycle of life develops. Now, with the sun, which is the root of our creativity, it's the root of our energy, it's our shining light that we want to project to the world, the root of our self-confidence, our self-esteem, our willpower, our essentially what we want to aspire towards. Moving into Aries, it's that time of enthusiasm now. We've been floating and reflecting on our dreams. Now it's about our dreams, others, how to unite others, and it's very much a focus on others and a connection to others and the humanity as a whole. This is all about self. It's all about me. What do I want to do? What do I want? How do I want to self-improve? Whether you might be sitting there thinking, I want to look better. I want to express myself in a different way. You want to buy new clothes. You want to express yourself. You want to go and improve your body. You might want to improve your passions. Express yourself directly. Directness is a key thing for Aries, and combativeness, overcoming challenges. Now, if you've been finding that there are certain things that are in your way, you've been putting things off because of the Neptune aspect. It doesn't like jobs, it doesn't like material things and things that need to be done in a structure and order that might be considered meticulous, and Pisces could consider it boring to some degree. Aries might be going, well, you know what, just got to do it, right? I'm going to get in there, I'm going to smash it, and I'm going to get it done. And it puts in energy to everything. Now, one thing that I want to align with this one is that it's not quite there yet, but a little bit further on in the month, it's going to combine with this thing that looks like a key, which is Chiron. Chiron is that wounded healer. And the wounded healer is aware of when Aries expresses itself either too much or out of balance, it can overcompensate. And Chiron in Aries is almost like a wounded Aries. It's someone that someone with like a low Mars or a low, it's someone like, you can imagine the person that doesn't really feel strong in themselves. They overcompensate, so they shout that a little bit louder, or they'll brag, for example, oh yeah, I've done this and I've done this and I'm just best at this, etc. You'll find that have a look out for the tendencies inside yourself to try to cover up your insecurities by trying to appear bigger and better than you are. And you might be aware that around this time, at the beginning of around the 20th of March, towards the latter end of March as well, all through this time, whilst this Sun-Chiron conjunction here, if you're finding that you are wanting to prove yourself to others and say things that aren't necessarily true to overcompensate, be aware of that wound, and be aware of others around you might be doing the same thing, right? A bit of more of a bravado. So just be aware of that. What we have now for the next big aspect of March is this planet here that still looks like it's floating around with these guys, but you may notice, if you've been attentive, that this number here has changed from a 29 to a 0, and it's moved into Aquarius. Now Saturn moving into Aquarius is quite an interesting shift. It's moved around from the earthly realms and the cardinal energy of Capricorn, which is all about the self, the status, becoming an efficient, hard-working, entrepreneurial person, to, well, I need to be around others of similar ilk here. I need to find others that are similar to me, and I can't do everything by myself. And I've got these new innovative ideas, and Aquarius is the inventor sign. It's the scientist that's got these new, wacky, crazy, original ideas that it wants to bring out. And Saturn in Aquarius is very much about adding structure to innovative ideas through other like-minded people to collaboratively create projects. Okay, so here is a time here, if you've been sitting there thinking, I've got this brand new idea that I really want to spread out to others. Now, you've been doing this very much yourself with your own avenue anyway, if you've been following the energy of this, wanting to spread your ideas, wanting to push them, etc. But what you'll find is Saturn moving to Aquarius, you'll find if you're really pushing yourself out to try and meet like-minded people, suddenly it will start working. Okay. Now, what this means potentially for Aquarians is that Saturn's coming into your sign to go, well, right, time to start working hard on, rather than just being this unique person with ideals, let's try and see if you can join a structure or a group that actually does something about those ideas, makes a bigger difference, a more profound difference on the world, rather than just being someone that, say, has fairness and liberty viewpoints and talks about it, but isn't actually involved in a group that does anything about it. Saturn will urge you to go, well, why can't you have more of an influence? Come on, get out there and start becoming someone that actually makes a profound difference. Join a group, join a society, that kind of thing. So that's going to influence us for the next 2.5 years. It's a big, it stayed in Capricorn for 2.5 years, so there's going to be this huge influence in Aquarius for the next couple of years. Okay, so get out there and collaborate with lots of other people, especially on a professional level, make the world a better place, essentially. And now on to the last day of March 31st, where we actually have the movement of the passionate Mars that overcomes challenges, moving from Capricorn, that's all about essentially making ourselves into this pioneering businessman or woman, being disciplined and self-discipline ourselves to do the things that might be hard work, self-sacrifice to get ourselves working, moving forwards, now moves into Aquarius. Now, you see these two zeros here, Mars, you know, it looks like it's in Capricorn, but there's a little blue dash, which means it's there. Now, it's going to be really passionate here about making brand new changes. It's all about humanitarian goals, essentially. It's about freeing people from oppression, fighting for freedom, essentially, and liberty and goals, and combining people together. And what you'll find is there's this red line as well. Now, Uranus, that's in Taurus, is going to be sitting there wanting to essentially free itself from materialistic sense of freedoms, which is interesting. Now, what you may find here is that during this time in the news media, you may find that there will be riots going on around this time. That there'll be people that are saying they want to be free. They want to free themselves from the economic wheel, so to speak. You'll be finding that there's this whole energy of feeling frustrated at the system and wanting to break free from it and wanting to get out of this whole needing to grind and work certain hours of the day. This energy that's almost felt a bit oppressive to some degree with Capricorn, that's like duty, get up, work hard, put in the hours, you know, don't sit there and self-indulge too much, grind. Now there's going to be this feeling of free yourselves from it. The only issue with this is you've got the kind of the father of working hard and sacrificing yourselves to make things work, essentially. You've got Saturn there that's at 0 degrees as well. So it's almost like you've got this desire to go, I want to be free, I want to free the world, I want to stand up for a cause, I want to be traveling around the world, earning money, doing my own unique thing, free myself from this whole repetitive cycle, this routine that I've been in. But Saturn's there going, well, you've got bills to pay here, you've got structures to uphold, you've got rent and mortgages, you've got all these kind of things you've got, and you've actually signed a document here, you can't, you've got these certain things that you've got to do. And so what you'll have is frustration. You'll be sitting there going, I really want to leave, but I can't. What you might have is this energy of passion towards the latter end of March, kind of going, yes, I'm going to start these new things, I've got this project going on, but then it's thwarted. So expect around the time end of March, if something feels like it's moving forwards, that you'll have a delay. And things need to be, paperwork may need to be adjusted, you may need to go through the motions a little bit more, but that will pass as you move on, and we may talk about that a little bit more in April, that will be coming up, okay? So I just want to say that I've worked through the major aspects. Now there are a lot more, but I can't go through absolutely every one of them, but I've worked through some of the major aspects in March, and hopefully that's been educational for you, and you can then use this in your own life to know the right times to do things, and maybe understand why things are happening in your life the way that they are, okay? I will be doing another one for April, so keep your eyes out for that. See you next time.
Do you love learning about the stars? Of course you do. Make sure you subscribe to find out more about the astrological world.